LSU Odyssey is live. We are the LSU Odyssey, and we are here to entertain you and absolutely go balls to the wall on this Sunday, where a very joyous day in the Phillips household here, where we've welcomed Ari home after a few days in the NICU. She is home, safe and sound, and we couldn't be more thrilled. Just in time for Christmas, the family is all together. It is a great day. How are you all doing? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what's going on in your life. Tell me what you're going to do for Christmas, where you're going, kind of people you're gonna have to deal with, people you're gonna have to put up with for Christmas. Tell us all about that. Um, Let us know some of the crazy gifts you might be getting others as well, because we're really intrigued by the gift phenomenon in the world now, with how things continue to change in our world and where things are going. But I want to know what you guys are all thinking, what you guys are all doing, and how you're feeling right now, as we are only 4 days away from Christmas. Huh, Sage? We're only 4 days away from Christmas, huh, buddy? This little guy's excited. He's so excited, he's grabbing one Mr. Goodbar and one dark chocolate Hershey's after another and devouring them. Yes, this boy is into Hershey's dark chocolate. Insane. I know. Let's get us up on the screen. What's what is wrong with this? This thing looks weird to me. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Trip Block just asked us, "Do y'all have a Facebook too, or just Twitter?" Yes, we have a Facebook, bro. Here's the Facebook. It's Let me see real quick. Our Facebook is, I guess Lon Phillips Sullivan is just the name to look up. Just Lon Phillips. If you just look up Lon Phillips, it's under Lon Phillips Sullivan. It's got a photo of Chels, Sage, and Ari, all from the recent birth. There is the photos on there. So definitely check that out. Definitely add us on Facebook. We've been posting a lot more stuff on Facebook recently, due to the fact that for once, Zuckerberg, the crazy bastard, has allowed us. He's allowed our site to be posted, our HTML, our URL code to be posted on Facebook for the first time in 5 years, during 2020, or maybe it was 2021. Either of the years, we wrote an article on Steve Ensminger, called Steve Ensminger, and I think it was actually the Ensminger Brady. Yeah, it was Ensminger Brady Ensminger. The truth behind the 2019 offense. Basically saying, like, was it Brady? Was it Joe Brady who did it? Was it Steve Ensminger who was responsible? We wrote an article called "Truth, Lies, and Game Tape." A parody of Truth, Lies, and Sex Tape, or however that goes. Um, Truth, Lies, and Game Tape, the real story behind the 2019 offense. Yep, October 18th, 2020 is when we wrote that. And it had 21,000, over 21,000 views. You can see right there, over 21,000 views. Because of that, they blocked the URL. Because of that, they blocked the Facebook URL. And I was like, oh, it's because we were taking traffic, or did we break a rule? What were we doing? And it was like, they did it to Patrick Bet David of all people. And when I heard that Patrick Bet David had his URL for his site taken, I'm like, well, maybe they just hate conservatives because Zuckerberg hates conservatives. No, it's because if you take traffic from them, they're like, to hell with you. But here's the thing. I don't know how it's been allowed back. Maybe because for once their censors were honest and they were like, yeah, this site doesn't break any of the community standards, so we'll allow it. So we are posting like crazy on there lately. Anything that we post on Twitter, we try and remember to post on Facebook. We haven't been doing it for a long time, so we're trying to get back into that groove of also posting it on Facebook too, because it just wasn't possible before. But oh wait, let me show you all. Let's see. One second. Let's see here. Let me show you what we got here. Ari's first ever appearance on LSU Odyssey. Sweet little girl. All right, guys. That's why that kind of explains the dim lit background and all that. And we got the little mini Christmas tree here in the front living room that's lighting up and all that. Yeah, very, very, very happy to have her. LSU are closing in on the D-line coach. Finally getting that defensive line coach. You wondered when it was going to happen because they went hard for Elijah Robinson, Matt Zenitz. I don't want to speak about anyone else because I just remember it being Matt Zenitz, but Matt Zenitz reported that we were going to sign Elijah Robinson, and then that never happened. And then he was flirting with Nebraska. Sorry, the charger cord fell out. And this thing's way low. He starts flirting with Nebraska, and LSU is like, okay, moving on. Like, good riddance. And Elijah Robinson was someone who I'm thinking like this would actually be a good pickup. Defensive tackle background, someone who's done really well with edge, defensive end, and tackle, recruiting those positions, developing those positions. He's even got like interim head coaching experience and all that stuff at Syracuse. Like, Elijah Robinson, big time get, in my opinion. But at the same time, you think of the drawbacks. Elijah Robinson would have only been at LSU one season. Then he would have been gone. Elijah Robinson would have taken the money and gone. He would have gotten, especially if he was successful, he would have received a ton of offers. And so I really dig what LSU have done, the pivot LSU took, going right for Sterling Lucas out of South Carolina. Sterling Lucas, man. I am really intrigued by his pedigree, but I will give some caveats, some things that just I think we should think about, okay? Sterling Lucas has some fantastic background. 6 years in the NFL, a lot of that with the Baltimore Ravens. And that was a time when the Ravens still had the Pro Bowlers, still had the lights out guys on defense, that they seemingly always have had the Baltimore Ravens as an organization, as a franchise. And he was, defensive quality control. He was running the making sure they were changing tendencies game to game. He was running these really minute, small details that are like win and lose you games. Though he was like really, really schooled on those things, and then kind of climbed the ladder from there. And he for me, it's Sterling Lucas, though, after going to the NFL for too long. One second. My son started just imploding, and then, of course, Ari started waking up. So we're being barraged from all sides right now. Forgive me. You guys have been really awesome and patient, but like, you guys know how kids can be. Just like the worst times you're on the phone, like literally dealing with like the worst freaking thing, and then they run up and do some fart sound in your face while like someone's telling you like someone got stabbed or shot. Like just the most ridiculous situations. So you guys kind of understand that, but yeah, we're kind of being barraged from all sides right now. But as I was saying, Sterling Lucas, 6 years in the NFL, and then goes to South Carolina, and what an impressive tenure he had. All SEC, All American, these dominators, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Chuck Bednarik, or sorry, Bronco Nagurski Award winner, Kyle Kennard. Um, you had it was a couple different people that he was really key and instrumental in their development of guys who were really, really big time, impactful players, guys who wrecked LSU offensive lines, such as Dylan Stewart. Someone could be a future Tiger. You see the eyebrows. We don't want to steal someone's sunglasses emoji, so we will do the eyebrows emoji from now on. And by the way, if you're listening, that wasn't a shot. Can you take a joke? Trying to make a joke. Can you take a joke? You guys have been joking and making fun of me for years. I think you can take one joke to your bruised ego. It's you had Dylan Stewart, Brian Thomas Jr., Kyle Kennard. He was Nick Barrett was successful under him as a linebacker, and this is a guy who's done the edge. and the linebacking. So he's done the edges and the linebackers. And that's fine. He comes in with that expertise, though. So you've already got Kevin Peoples. You've already got Kevin Peoples. You can't have two different edge guys. You can't have two different specified edge coaches. You need someone who's going to be a defensive line coach to coach the interior of the defensive line. So what do you do? Who's going to be that guy? So who's going to coach the interior defensive line? Could that be Chris Kiffin? He's got the experience. He's got the pedigree to do that, to coach interior defensive line. And we know Blake Baker is going to be coaching those linebackers as well as being DC. We know that Sterling Lucas, though, he's got that edge pedigree, outside linebackers, edges, just like Kevin Peoples does. But we're not getting rid of Kevin Peoples. Sterling Lucas. Where does this fit? Is it going to be Sterling Lucas and Chris Kiffin together coaching the defensive line? That's something I really want to know. Sorry, I'm seeing some of the comments right now, just barely. Guys, we have not talked about the Reliford stuff yet. Sorry, we'll get into that. There's a lot of specific guys, and if we still have only around 27, 30 sacks next season, I'm going to lose my mind, because you've got so many pass rushing specialists now on this staff. Guys who've developed all SEC, all American, defensive player of the year level talent, first round level talents. And Sterling Lucas is fantastic in what he does. And I'm going to just break some news right now because I don't think it's official. Sterling Lucas has been signed as LSU's defensive line coach. That is official. He was not only spotted at LSU women's basketball with Verge Osbury today, or was it men's basketball? I can't remember. Someone just said it was a LSU basketball game. With Verge Osbury, someone told me that he got to really see the campus and really see the lay of the land and get into that. I'm impressed by Sterling Lucas big time. I'm just wondering how this is going to fit, how this is going to work. And could LSU lose Kevin Peoples potentially? Could that be a possibility that Kevin Peoples now kind of like shit? There's so many specialists. I'm already the specialist. What is this? And Kevin Peoples goes, because this is a guy who was nominated for a Broyles Award. He was a semifinalist for the Broyles Award. He didn't quite make the finals. I want to say 100%. Let me make sure. Yeah, he was one of the 15 semifinals for the Broyles Award in the country. I mean, top 15 assistant in the country, and we've seen what Kevin Peoples has done routinely. Um, Braden Swinson had the most sacks of any LSU Tiger since Arden Key set the all-time sacks record at LSU. Just incredible. What blew my mind is that we haven't found a way for Harold Perkins to exceed and deliver on his potential when you saw what he could do and what you could do off the edge with him and rushing him at the passer, all that stuff. And you never quite took advantage of those skills, developed those skills, fulfilled those skills to their ultimum. To their ultimate, their maximum. That's why I said ultimum. Um, Making up our own words here. And there's been some wasted edge guys at LSU, some wasted pass rushers. This last season, LSU only had 14 and a half sacks from their defensive line, 14 and a half sacks from the defensive line, and only 27 as an entire team. That's fewer. That is a fewer number than the 2023 Matt House defense that we all like to make fun of. They had 33 sacks. LSU only had 27 as an entire team. Harold Perkins led the way with 5. And that's another thing. You're losing Harold Perkins, it seems, because Harold Perkins news has come out from the source I have on this is LouisianaSports.net, Matt Moscona's site. I think they're the people I can say reported this because I didn't get information on this first ahead of them. They did. LouisianaSports.net said that Harold Perkins will opt out of this Texas Bowl, which, joining West Weeks, which we already knew about. West Weeks already announced that a few weeks ago. No pun intended. And so Harold Perkins, man, you're never going to see him in an LSU uniform again, it seems. I don't want to say never, but it really looks almost certain that he's done. The Shrine Bowl, he said he's going to be in the Shrine Bowl, and now he's opting out of the bowl game. I mean, hell, even if you were going to come back next year, maybe you'd opt out of the bowl game anyway, because this is just ridiculous. LSU in another Texas Bowl against freaking Houston. At least we're playing in a cool stadium, but man, so LSU closing in on their new defensive line coach, and I've been told he is signed. I've been told that Sterling Lucas is done, that Sterling Lucas will be the guy, and that, hopefully this will be a guy that LSU can keep multiple seasons. Because the last time you'd had someone spend multiple seasons, I was talking with my friends on the Go Team podcast just on Thursday. Thursday night, we did our appearance on there, which you should definitely check out. We were late. We were like the last half hour of the show, sadly. But they said, hey, when's the last time we've had a defensive line coach stay consecutive seasons? And it was like, oh, Bill Johnson, 2019 into 2020. And even he technically wasn't the defensive line coach consecutive seasons, because Meatball Johnson was the 2019 defensive line coach, but then like blew out both of his legs and knees and all this stuff. So like Meatball Johnson was technically the guy, but Bill Johnson was like the one physically there and performing the task of being the defensive line coach, because Meatball would be in the booth or on a scooter on the sidelines. Like Meatball was a part of a lot of the journey and the ride, but he couldn't physically be there for the grinding gruel of fall camp and stuff like that. But that was the last time we had someone be the defensive line coach officially back-to-back seasons. Crazy. Before then, I think it was just like Coach O for one of those years, for 2 of those years. And I think the second one he was made into interim head coach before it was over. So Sterling Lucas, a lot of edge specialty. He's developed a lot of great talents. Can he coach interior defensive line? Can he develop the interior defensive tackles? Can he coach that part of the field? Or is that something that they're going to hand to Chris Kiffin and they kind of work as a tandem? Chris Kiffin, interior, Sterling Lucas on the edge, on the outside. Could be something like that. This staff is taking shape. As we showed you, I think it was last week, we did a episode on the new staff for LSU kind of taking shape, where you got Charlie Weiss Jr., who you saw call an incredible game against Tulane. I actually picked on that Go Team podcast appearance on Thursday. We actually picked Tulane to beat. We actually picked Tulane to beat Ole Miss to pull off that upset. Yeah, right. Yeah, that was gonna happen, huh? Ridiculous. Joe Cox, your co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. I wonder why he's a co-OC though. It's kind of strange. George McDonald, wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator, Eric Wolford. Okay, I kept calling him Wofford. It's Wolford. Okay. Eric Wolford is your offensive line coach. Joe Houston is special teams. He's been at Alabama, Florida, and the Patriots. I think all three very high quality destinations. As much as we hate Florida, Alabama, and the Patriots, like me personally, like as teams, I hate all those teams. But like, hey, they're good. They're good teams, Thaddeus Rivers, Sr., the Associate Athletic Director of Football Operations. He's coming over from Ole Miss. And then, of course, Billy Glasscock, General Manager, is coming over from Ole Miss. And we wrote an article. This will be a great way to transition into our next part of what we're talking about. We wrote an article about how LSU and Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock have this last week been doing retention evaluations, seeing the players that they should retain. Can they retain them? They've already gone through the entire list of players and like how much money each player is getting, how much the offer that are they making too much money off of us? Are we not paying this guy even enough? Do we need to pay this guy more to keep him? All these type of things. They're going through those processes, and now they're doing the player interviews. They're watching the players in practice. They're studying all this film, and there's been a few interesting departures in the transfer portal this last week, and some of these I also think isn't just because of. I don't think it's just because of evaluations or whatever. I think it's also like new coaches have come in and coaches who've left. I think guys are wondering where the hell they're going to fit into this whole thing. there's been a lot of changes, And Gabe Reliford, he wrote something on Twitter that was kind of caught me by surprise. I don't have a photo of it. I should have taken a photo of it, but let me get it up so I can actually like read exactly what he posted. It was something like you. Okay, here it is. Gabe Reliford, last night at 7:09 p.m. posted, "Counting me out is gonna be your biggest mistake. Dot dot dot. Hashtag ball hog. Ball hog." A lot of people hit me up. Gabe Reliford leaving. Gabe Reliford, is he gonna leave? Is Gabe Reliford leaving? Oh my gosh. And here's what I'll say. I think that could be a potential thing because Dylan Stewart, there are huge rumblings that Dylan Stewart is going to follow Sterling Lucas from South Carolina to LSU. Massive rumblings. And Gabe Reliford, great season at LSU until his injury. He was playing really well. And yes, he wasn't like exploding the stat sheet and all that stuff. He wasn't stuffing, the stat sheet, having a bunch of sacks, TFLs, all that stuff. But he was so good at like holding the edge and locking it down and being a really accountable defensive presence. And when you lost him, you lost some of that containment power and that presence on the outside. That wasn't Reliford. Sorry, that was Patrick Payton. You lost some of that presence and that oomph, that power. And now you have Reliford potentially reacting to the arrival of Sterling Lucas and saying, "Man, I don't want to be coached by this guy." Or it's maybe not the arrival of Sterling Lucas he's potentially bothered by. Maybe it's the players that are about to follow Coach Lucas to Baton Rouge. That could be the main concern for Gabe Reliford. Because this is a guy who was a starter for LSU. A starter. Let's don't forget that. And you don't want to see Gabe Reliford leave. That would suck because you need as much edge potential, edge experiences you can have, and he's the perfect mixture of like youth and experience. Gabe Reliford, where it's like you feel like if he had played a full season last year, maybe he ends the season with like 5 or 6 sacks. It's hard to say that though because Gabe Reliford, I don't even think he had a sack when he went down for the count. Let's see here. Gabe Reliford. Because I don't even think he had a sack when he went down. Like, you got to remember, LSU, stats-wise, this season, it was so piss poor. Like, outside of the interceptions, some of these statistics were just so bad. Even on defense, like, there was a collective greatness on defense where collectively it was unselfish. They didn't care who racked up the numbers. I don't care. Like, I'm glad, like, I don't care if you rack up the numbers as long as you do the job. But at some point, just having 5 sacks. Your leading sacker just has 5 sacks. Your leading TFL guy, just 8, which, good number, 8, very good number, especially for West Weeks, for Harold Perkins. But then the rest just 5.5, 4, 4, and then sacks. Harold Perkins, I was wrong. He didn't have 5. He only had 4. And then West Weeks was your second leading sacker this season with 2.5. West Weeks was your second leading sacker with 2.5 this season. Like, West Weeks had an awesome season, but your second leading sacker only had 2.5 sacks. Your leading sacker only had 4, and none of them were defensive linemen or an edge guy. That's embarrassing. Jack Pyburn, 2 sacks. Bernard Gooden, 2 sacks. Jamari Butler, 2 sacks. Dylan Carpenter, 2 sacks. DJ Pickett actually had 2 sacks, by the way. Damian Shanklin, 2 sacks. Jacobian Guillory, 1.5 sacks. Dominic McKinley, only 1 sack. Gabe Reliford, 0 sacks and just 1 TFL. No batted passes, no forced fumbles, no fumble recoveries, and just 8 combined tackles. And the 1 TFL that he had actually was the last play he played on the season, because I remember putting that footage up online like, oh, that's a great play, but oh, shit, because he messed up his elbow, broke his arm, basically. It's terrible. And you hope Gabe Reliford comes back. You don't want to see boot boys who have experience, multiple year experience, ready for that moment. Injuries, things like that have delayed it, but he's ready for that moment, and you don't want to see him fail. And it's like, will he have the opportunity to play in Tiger Stadium again? Will he have the chance to actually play in Tiger Stadium, or will he go elsewhere? And right now, we're in that moment where it's kind of up in the air. And that's the thing. Paul Tarver says Gabe should stay. If Dylan Stewart follows Sterling Lucas, then the 2 would be badass bookends. Yes, but Paul Tarver, my man, it might be just not just Dylan Stewart. It's really looking like it could be someone else as well. A name we're gonna keep close to our vest so we can break that news on our own. But there's another really good defensive end. I wouldn't call him an edge guy. I think he's more of a hulking, more inside kind of guy, defensive end, that really could come as well. It sucks that Brian Thomas Jr., not Brian Thomas Jr. LSU receiver, but Brian Thomas Jr. from South Carolina. It sucks that he can't transfer. Sucks that he doesn't have any more eligibility left. But there are certain projects that Sterling Lucas will have in his mind for this opportunity where, okay, you've got almost $40 million in NIL funding. Go get Dylan Stewart. But go get this guy as well. Solidify that defensive tackle interior. Make sure you have that figured out. Make sure you can hold the interior accountable. people can't just run all over you. You can't just break contain. I mean, even as good as this defense was this season, there's a couple games where we allowed 200, 300 rushing yards. And there was a couple where we allowed like 180, 190 to like a really bad team as well. Like I think it was like Western Kentucky or somebody that we allowed. Like there was some games where it was like without Whit Weeks and without his speed over the middle, kind of, protecting and covering the ass of like Harold Perkins, covering the ass of some of our safeties, covering the ass of some of these people uh, who would get caught out, who would break contain on the edge as well. Without Whit Weeks, man, um, without his football IQ and his speed making up for some of those plays, this defense, as great as they were, they went into being, I think, just the 25th ranked defense, top 25 defense, when really this is a top 10 defense until that certain window of games. Ole Miss, even though they only held them to 25, 24 points, they still had allowed a ton of yards. Against Vandy, that's a game where you got absolutely destroyed by Pavia. You did really well in the Alabama game defensively, actually. Only 20 points, 20-9. You barely lose thanks to your offense. Without the defense this year, though, you're probably not in any games this season. Paul Tarver says Blake Baker probably asks him to coach interior line. Asks Sterling Lucas. I could see Sterling Lucas coaching interior line. He's got the pedigree, he's got the experience, the coaching know-how to do that, to make that move. The problem is it still going to be too finesse? Is it going to be still rooted in edge rusher, speed rusher type of concepts when you're talking about 320-pound giant interior defensive lineman? And that's a whole different position to coach. It's a whole different methodology. It's a whole different vocabulary from a football perspective, and a whole different skill set to coach and to get the best out of. Oh, thank you, Paul. Thank you for the absolute amazing things that you always say. You're always making us look good, Paul. How are you doing for Christmas, Paul? What are things going to be looking like? I hope you're not traveling. For anybody watching, I hope none of you have to travel. My God. I hope none of you are stuck at an airport, de-icing the plane, all this shit. Like, I don't know why people do that. Like, unless you're going somewhere really cool, really worth it, like, unless it's really like those family members you just have to see, and they do live across the country and whatever, like, the way air travel is going on right now is I'm kind of glad. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. This was the first season we missed an LSU game since we've been covering LSU. Maybe that was a blessing in disguise, because holy crap, the amount of problems with planes and issues with delayed flights and just craziness. I hope none of you guys have to deal with that. Poe English says, "What up, my guy? What are you hearing on the D-line hire?" I think you just got your fill, brother. I think we just gave you as much as we knowledge as we have on the Sterling Lucas arrival and signing. But there are things that we don't know. We don't know if he's going to be coaching the interior or kind of what Chris Kiffin is going to where he's going to fit in. Because unbeknownst to me, Chris Kiffin has a hell of a resume coaching defensive line and specifically defensive tackle as well. Really developing some monster defensive tackles in his time in the NFL. So I'm very intrigued by that. And the quarterback situation with the portal, I think you've seen. Have you seen this? Sam Levitt's in the portal. Trinidad Chambliss probably will head in the portal. Bryce Underwood, we're looking at him joining the portal as well. You know, Bryce Underwood just followed LSU football as well. Took the Michigan thing off his bio, follows LSU football again. He only follows 2 college football teams, University of Michigan and now LSU. What does that say? What does that say? Yes, depth is good, but you know, at some point guys are going to leave if they know they're not going to be playing. You know, that's what sucks about college football is nowadays we've gotten to this place where you cannot keep players year to year to year to year if they know that, hey, maybe if I start 1 year at a place, great, but then if the next 2 years I'm kind of like in and out, man, that could like absolutely screw your career up, your trajectory, your development, your path to the NFL draft, your ability to make as much money as possible. Um, Not going your natural course. It's a stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And oh man, the transfer portal is so intriguing because there's so many guys who've gone into the portal, and it's like, damn, look at this guy. You know, Joe Burrow was rotting on the Ohio State bench. A Heisman quarterback, the greatest single season quarterback performance in college football, maybe football history. Joe Burrow, 2019 Joe Burrow. First overall pick. His first full year, he takes the Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals, to the Super Bowl after winning 3 different road games. Insanity, breaking all sorts of records. Joe Burrow, once in a lifetime type of talent, and he knew I gotta get out of Ohio State. I gotta leave Columbus. I gotta get out of Ohio, my home state, and go somewhere to be able to play. And so you're going to see that. You've seen you've seen guys that you never thought would leave certain schools, never thought you would see in a different jersey, different colors, leave because immediately they know their playing time is under threat. They know that maybe the coach that comes in has another apple of his eye, like, and you're gone. Because why would you let this team kind of screw you over as a depth option when you could go anywhere else and they could pay you maybe even more money and actually let you play? And maybe you don't win a national championship. Maybe you don't even get into the playoff with the team you go to. But maybe they're on a big enough stage, a big enough level that it lets you do what you do on the biggest stage at the biggest level and gives you that platform to be a first round pick, maybe win an individual award. So like it has become individualized. It has become about me first. It has become about less about team. And I get why that's not a good thing. But I also get why it's happening. And I also think it's really funny when people like head coaches or quarterbacks, star players, kind of chide the others about, you're not for the team. And it's like, dude, if we took 5 more targets off your sheet towards you, if you were benched one of these games, you'd be losing your mind and tearing a locker room apart like a freaking diva. So it's always funny to me that some of those people are like, you need to be about the team. And then it's like, dude, if you weren't like the tip of the hierarchy of this team, you would be like, you wouldn't give a shit about team culture. You would be out there to get yours, So it's unfortunately the state of play, the state of the situation in college football, where you're going to lose guys that I want that guy to be depth for us. Well, that guy doesn't really want to get, even if you pay him well, he doesn't really want to waste a full season or more of his life, of his career, sitting on your bench to be your like plan B or C. And nowadays it's like really in your face. It's really hard to avoid when you're being relegated. So we'll see with Reliford over the coming days, but I thought his message was cryptic. He didn't respond to my message toward him. I asked him what that meant and if everything was okay and what was up. He would not respond to that. That's not out of character. Gabe Reliford's never responded to a message I've sent him. There are people, of course, there's many people who respond to what I send. He is not one of them. So, that doesn't really mean anything. We'll see what he does, and hopefully we can report some good stuff. Lastly, the college football playoff madness. Texas A&M. Lose 10-3 to lose 10-3 at home to Miami. 10-3 to Miami. That's hilarious as hell. Absolutely hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing at the fact that the how much they were beating their chests, how proud and happy they were that they kicked our ass. And it's like, actually, you helped LSU by kicking our ass. And actually, you've set LSU on a course for greatness. And then A&M, it was just a Pyrrhic victory. Where it seems like, oh my God, we're the number one, but it's actually made of sand. It's actually a mirage. And you're seeing it all kind of fall out from under A&M, man. Mike Elko and A&M with a true choke job. You lost 10-3 at home in the college football playoff to Mario Cristobal, who can't help but lose close games, can't help but mismanage close games, can't help but bungle close games. And you basically gave him this game. 10-3, and you really saw how good Marcel Reed really is. And it's like that a Blake Baker defense next year should be able to do what Miami just did to Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed should not be doing that against us ever again. But I was stunned that Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver, they did nothing. They did next to nothing, shut down by Miami. It was a very impressive performance by Miami's defense. Incredible. And the main theme from these games, though, is how awful they were to watch. How disappointing as far as a spectacle that they were. 10-3, that may have been one of the most low-scoring college football playoff games of all time. I think it may be already. And next to the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Rams of 2019, where it's like the worst, lowest scoring like playoff title games in a long time. But you've got Oklahoma choking away a 17-0 lead to Alabama, and then Alabama coming back and winning. And there's been a theme here too in these games. Missed field goals. A ton of missed field goals. I mean, I'm talking more missed field goals than Rodrigo Blankenship, high on freaking, Percocet. Like, we're talking more missed field goals than Vinny Testaverde drunk, taking the role of Martin Gramatica, stealing Martin Gramatica's jersey and his awful helmet, and just getting back there and kicking. Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, this was a missed field goal junkie's dream. I mean, if you were into missed field goals, this was something you could have potentially masturbated to. It was unreal. It was unreal. And it just keeps hitting me how weak the landscape in college football has been for the last 4 seasons. Ever since Georgia won their second of their back-to-back titles by just absolutely crucifying TCU like 65-7 or some crap like that. After that happened, you haven't seen a true dominant team. It's felt more like the NFL, where it's kind of just like, oh, one of these kind of imperfect kind of teams won. Okay. They took advantage of mistakes. Okay. They took advantage of this big injury on the day. Okay. Like, it used to feel like with college football, it'd be like that was the season of USC, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush. That was the season of, Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, 2019. And you would think of the school, the vibe, everything that goes with it. Now it's really kind of, it's faceless. It's weird. I don't think I got very much entertainment or passion from these games outside of some of the defensive chess matches that we saw between Miami and A&M. As a defensive guy, I loved watching that. But there's something missing from this college football playoff. You have no true, real contender that's like that's the team that's going to win this all. You have Oregon, who give up 34 points to James Madison. 34 points to James Madison. I know they put up 51. I get it. They also allowed 34. You have Alabama on the precipice against Brent Venables, Oklahoma, have to come from 17-0 down. I mean, if that dude, I'm trying to think of the name of that receiver for Alabama, if on that 4th and 2 play where he makes all those juking moves to get in to make it 17-7, if that guy doesn't make that play, they are like a fly to Vigo. They are literally just like swatted away by Oklahoma. So this playoffs, it just tells me over and over and over and over Like, if LSU can get in, we're going to win one of these damn things, man. We're going to win one of these things. We just won one 6 years ago. I think it's time for another. And I think it's time for LSU to be in these playoffs year in, year out, competing against the best, pushing everything they possibly can, pushing every guy on their staff, on their roster. And instead, you got guys kind of auditioning for places, auditioning for maybe spots on other programs in the freaking Texas Bowl for what, like the third out of 5 seasons or something. The Cheez-It Bowl was another in this era. It's just not good enough. And I think that's the main thing from watching these games, these playoff games, is LSU should be in this mix. They should be at this party because this is a very amateurish, underwhelming party. And I know we haven't seen Georgia play again with Gunnar Stockton and see how they'll hold up against Ole Miss. I think it is that they play. I think that game's in New Orleans as well. We haven't seen some of these other. We haven't seen how Indiana is going to be as a favorite. We haven't seen Ohio State try and defend their title. So this next round, the quarterfinals, the semifinals. This is where it's going to get very interesting. But as for the first round, you had some of the least entertaining games I've ever seen, the most skippable worthy games, and then you had probably 3/4 of that Miami Texas A&M game for me was actually very fun to watch because of the defensive nature. Everybody, I got to get back to my family. We'll be writing an article tonight on the site that you'll definitely want to check out, and we're going to be staying up all night, so if we feel like it, we might be doing a live stream as well at that point. I think we might. Everybody, we'll be talking to you very soon, potentially tonight. Have a good one, everybody. Go Tigers.